Okay, we'll be going live. Give me 1 second.
You know what?
Hey, welcome. We're officially live. This is your first LinkedIn Live.
Hi, Wasim. Yes, it is. LinkedIn magic. Love it.
So this is going to be a bit different to what you're normally used to. When you have kind of the whole part of the red carpet and stuff. But we've got a pandemic, so we're stuck in our physical spaces of residence. But hey, we're here, and you know what? We probably wouldn't have met if there wasn't this pandemic, and if there wasn't this app called Clubhouse. So it's fantastic that we all connected.
Absolutely. I love it that, I mean, one advantage to this is that it's really hard to be late for your appointments or for like any meetings because you do it from home. So I love it.
No, absolutely. And you know what? I was going to say, when you go into events and stuff, there is a thrill, right? That the whole kind of getting ready for it, the whole kind of pressure of kind of making sure you're looking a certain way, then making sure you get there, or you get there fabulously late, but then connecting with people. There is a buzz to that. There's no denying that, right? But at the same time, this is convenient. Like you can literally be doing 100 interviews and you wouldn't have to left, you might not even left your bedroom. So there you go.
Yes, and the excuse could be, oh, my lighting maybe was not the best.
No, absolutely. So Tijana, first question for you then, right? For me, I know you're a early riser, or should we say rather late riser. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
I'm not a breakfast person, so I always skip my breakfast and have like 2 coffees and then I get hungry. So I've never been a breakfast person.
We were speaking yesterday as well, and you were like, let me coffee up before I start having any conversations, right? Yes. But once you have your coffee, are you kind of then in that state of, okay, I need to eat something, or you're just like, no, I need to get on with my day?
Oh, I get on with my day usually. So I entirely skip breakfast most of the time, unless I'm traveling and then the hotel has this amazing spread of all different choices. So that's when I love breakfast. But when I'm at home in New York, my breakfast of choice is coffee. And then actually it's instant coffee. One of my friends calls it the prison coffee. I don't know why. I think it's just easy to like make it and put it together, but I'm just a fan. Where I grew up, everyone is like a fan of Nescafe, which is not like the strongest. So I usually have that with a little bit of half and half, no sugar. I am not a fan of sugar in my coffee. So
do you miss the buffets?
Buffets in hotels?
Yeah, that whole experience of
yes, I cannot wait to get back to traveling. And I don't know, I think my first destination is either going to be somewhere in Europe to see my mom or Dubai. I've never been to Dubai and I really want to visit it, and I'm sure they have some amazing
they do. It's Dubai is like it's like this fantasy. It literally, you go there and it's, really is, you think about red carpet and you think about Dubai. It's just literally this whole place of wonder, literally is. And there's so much to do down there, from everything, whether it's sightseeing, whether it's just kind of chilling with the in crowd, or whether it's just being there and looking at the history and the culture. Is literally all there. And you just can't get enough of it. In fact, one of the best things I would recommend is like the water fountains. You've got to see it. It's just so much fun, and how they've created it all. But like we were talking yesterday, you're like, well, Steve, you know what, I would love to look at the Mideast and potentially go there. What makes you want to, what is it about the Mideast that really captures your attention?
I have always just felt welcomed and like I fit in the culture. I mean, even in New York, I have a lot of friends that are from Middle East, and it's just maybe that, like, I mean, I'm originally from the Balkans, so maybe that like type of hospitality where people are always supposed to like welcome you with you know hot tea or coffee and like everything for the guests and to make you feel welcome.
Yeah,
And
I do have that too.
I think people are in general pretty genuine, which in Balkans too, you can tell right away if someone likes you or not.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
too much into like all this pretending and not establishing long-term relationships and connections,
mhm,
just to make them. I'm more into long run, deeper, getting to know people, deeper connection, etc. So maybe that's why I love doing interviews.
So, and does that come from upbringing, or is that just the general culture in Serbia, right? Where is it just the feel of people there are very hospitable? They want to get to know you, and if you're coming from abroad, they're like, hey, look, this is who we are. Let us help you out. Is it that culture comes from there, or would you say it was more kind of how you grew up with your family?
I think this is how I grew up with my family and
Hmm.
probably a little bit of a culture. But I don't know. I think maybe it's genetics. It's just in my genes to be that way. And so I visited Qatar right before pandemic. My last big trip was Qatar, and
Hmm.
I loved it there. So I enjoyed it so much. I cannot wait to go back. I loved the tradition of like walking in anywhere and getting a little bit of a coffee and a date. I loved it. And even my friends that have seen like my social media posts and my photos said, "Oh my God, you should move there. You look so happy, on a camel in a desert." So I loved it. I loved it. So this is why I can't wait to go to some other areas that could be similar, and maybe even more open to some European customs and habits. So this is why I'm very curious to see Dubai and to see, where am I going to retire? Is it going to be Qatar or Dubai?
Well, you're so for those of you who are watching, first of all, thank you so much for joining this broadcast. Tijana is absolutely lovely. In fact, we ended up doing a room last night, which was based on the Oprah Winfrey interview that's going to happen today with, of course, Harry and Meghan. And we had a fantastic time. Tiana's just an all-round lovely lady. She just loves having fun, and she's very warm and she's very inviting. And Tiana, of course, for those of you who don't know, Tiana, you're a broadcast journalist. You're also a celebrity host, luxury style expert. You love your fashion, and I guess that links in with the UAE and Qatar. One of the things they've done is really work on their brand image and how they're coming across. And of course, they get some of the biggest events going there. Even Saudi Arabia, for example, is investing so much money into change the narrative of the how the whole countries are, is perceived. But first of all, I'd love to know, from Serbia to a celebrity host on the red carpet, how on earth did that happen?
How did that happen? Well, I always knew that I loved talking to people, and I always loved networking. But my first love was theater and acting, because where I grew up in my hometown, Sombor, theater is really kind of the center of attraction of the town. We have some really high quality actors and some really high quality production. So as a little girl, I was one of those that would go and see these plays more than once. Like some of them I already knew like the words.
Wow.
So I grew up being a huge fan of theater and sort of getting familiar with being on stage and just performing. So of course I joined like the drama club in my school, and then I also joined a drama club that was part of the theater, which was so nice. I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but I thought it was amazing to like have that first interaction with actual actors, with actual directors. So that way, I could like hang out in the background of the stage as like the crowd, etc. And then I also went to some of their tours, so I firsthand experienced the life of actors, theater actors, and they were all like so friendly and happy, and they just wanted to do what they love doing, and spread their joy. You could feel when someone loves doing what they do, and they're not doing it just to be there. So I love that about them. And so I always kind of remained part of that club, let's put it that way. And then I moved to New York. Well, I finished high school in Budapest, but then I moved to New York. In the meantime, I did some reciting, which helped me when it comes to like emphasizing words, etc. So, some call me a little bit dramatic when I talk, etc. But it's how I talk. And so I moved to New York. I first wanted to move to LA because the whole Hollywood glam and glitter, but I ended up in New York. And so my first major was theater, but then I decided to switch to journalism. And that brings us back to Oprah, because she was one of my kind of inspirations to switch from theater to journalism. So that's how I ended up going to Brooklyn College for broadcast journalism. So that was fun.
Tony Robbins, right? He says there are two kinds of people. There are people who they become the experts in whatever they do, whether they're influencers, celebrities, scientists. And the second kind of person is the person who interviews the experts and becomes an expert in the process, right? And this is something that I feel I've always felt I'm kind of in that second category, but asking questions, trying to really connect with the person whose story you want to share is an art form, right? And you just described your journey, how you love buzzwords, you love getting deeper into the conversation. Is that something that anybody can learn, or is that innate?
I think a little bit of both. I mean, they do say the talent is not enough for success.
Yeah.
Some people are super talented, but they're not working on themselves or on their craft. So I think both is necessary. I mean, and also I think we should not be opposed. Some people come across and tell you, oh, I'm great in what I do. I don't need help with anything, which is not true. Everyone can improve. Everyone can get better. Everyone can perfect even more their craft, whatever it is that they're doing. So I think that is a mistake, unless you just get lucky and super successful in the beginning of your career. Someone notices your talent, but for most people, it just takes a long time and really hard work. So I think a little bit of both.
Well, When you've interviewed some of the biggest names, right? You've spent obviously you work with Her Royal Highness Crown Princess Catherine, and I want to come to her separately in a second. You've interviewed Steven Spielberg. You spent time interviewing Robert De Niro, Kelsey Grammer, and Joan Rivers, and all these big names. People we grew up watching on the big screen, but after having all that, like this pandemic kicks in, and Hala has brought up a great question. How did the pandemic affect your work, and how do you foresee 2021 looking for you, and how are you adjusting to it?
I always choose to look at a situation and make the best of it. So I don't spend time complaining about how horrible something is that happened. I just really try to adjust and make the best possible outcome, especially like of the last year. I am so grateful actually that I was able to work on my website, or, reconnect with some people that I didn't have time to catch up with because we were all so busy, in New York rat race or whatever you want to call it. But, I think it gave us, I know a lot of people use this word, the great reset, but yeah. I think it truly is a reset. It gave me time to step back, to, really focus and think what it is that I want to work on. Where do I see myself in the future? What are some of the areas that I need to improve in? And how can I get better at what I do? Clubhouse is one of the places that I think helped me focus more on my voice, to get back to, get back to that, only that solely form of communication. Because, when you are on camera, sometimes, you can get distracted with whatever is behind me, or what I'm wearing, or how I look, or whoever is next to me. And the Clubhouse is super cool because you really have to kind of bring attention back to this voice. That's it. I love it. I'm loving it. And thank you, Wasim, because you actually played a great part in making me feel welcome in the Clubhouse. I think when the first time I got on Clubhouse stage, I think you were there. And yes, I'm sure I now sound more confident and better when I get on stage and I have something to say. And it taught me that I shouldn't worry so much, at first I was like, oh my God, how am I going to sound? I have a little bit of an accent. Am I going to be judged, etc.? I can't, hide, like if I stumble upon a word. So, and now just like sort of just, I'm letting it happen. Go with the flow.
I look, I agree. Because we're so used to the kind of video format, we focus on how we're going to come across, how we're going to look, as opposed to just the voice. And all of a sudden, you've got this place where now, your voice matters, right? Because no one can see your followers, or well, they can, but really everybody's kind of really on that stage zero on this platform. Everybody's trying to grow. So it really is, how does your voice come across? What is the delivery? Does it resonate? But I think the authenticity of your voice is probably the most important part in terms of connecting with people. And do you think this has made your kind of approach when you do get back onto the red carpet? Do you think this is going to help your delivery of how you connect with Robert De Niro again, or some of the actors and actresses, influencers you've worked with, or whether you're on a fashion set?
Absolutely, for sure. the previous question was how it affected my career, or what I do, and I think it improved it tremendously. You know, long time ago, when I just started doing interviews, someone gave me a really great advice that when I speak to a celebrity or someone that's famous and well known in their field, to feel equal, not to feel like, oh, I am there to make them feel good and I'm like not important. So I think that was one of the greatest things anyone ever told me throughout my career, because it's true. These people are there to also share their work with you, with my audience, what it is that they're doing. So it's like an equal reciprocation. And I think that now, coming back to Clubhouse, it kind of did make me feel like, oh, there are people that want to hear just my voice and want to hear what I have to say and share. I was a little bit insecure in the beginning, wasn't sure, are people going to want to hear what I have to say? But apparently they did. And
They did.
that I
They
was
did. We saw that last night. They definitely did.
Something that I was super excited about is like this. I mentioned to you this like test pop-up room where we had women join and practice their introductions on Clubhouse. Yeah. And I wasn't sure if I'm going to be able to contribute or if they would want to like hear my advice, but we ended up all having a good time and really putting it to use and utilizing each other's knowledge. So it was like a very small, intimate room. Everyone felt safe to, practice their intros. And, my experience having to grab Kelsey Grammer on the red carpet and like put my question in an introduction and like come up with a question and creating a connection within just like a minute or two that, I can have him on the red carpet, I think helped a lot with like helping now others, sort of like getting that attention quickly and putting it to use within like a minute or so.
Asif, thank you so much for that question. I'm going to come straight to it. But just to focus on that pitching part, when you've got literally people call like when you're trying to pitch to investors, the elevator pitch, and when you're trying to grab that attention, that first 10 seconds, how should people be coming across? What would you advise? Like, how do you capture that attention?
Well, that first sentence, you can relate to maybe newspaper headlines, because that's very important to grab attention. So it's true when people say that the first impression is very important. So I think it depends like who it is that you are approaching. So you have to be respectful. You have to make sure you're not coming up too aggressive. As well, like celebrities, they get approached all the time, right? For example. So I've seen people like going straight up to celebrities and like asking them for a favor. And why? What are you doing? This person doesn't need to help you or do anything for you. Like, at least like ask them how they are at first, like, are they okay? How is their day going? Instead of just like jumping in to like, oh, can you follow me? Which followers are so like such a big deal these days. So like, oh, can you follow me back? Can you follow me back? Like, let's connect. I want you to come to, my event or whatever, without like showing any sort of support to, these people are still human beings, they're not, they're also normal people. So they have feelings, they have, they feel your energy. They don't want to be, asked nonstop, to do stuff for other people. So anyway, that's
no, I like that. No, I agree. And it's interesting. I would relate that to startups and businesses when they're going for investment. How do they get that attention straight away? How do they go in and make sure that whatever project they have, how does that come across? And and how do they make sure it doesn't feel like they're asking, but more they're kind of really demonstrating why they're so passionate about what they're doing. So I love your approach, by the way. I think there's a lot of what you've said, the clinical world, the healthcare professional, the scientist, is something we could really learn from. Is how do we express our ideas out there? Because we look at the impact this pandemic has had. It's apparent how important science is. It's very. We now know how important scientists are. We know why clinicians need to be respected and resourced. But ultimately, how do they get that message across? And coming back then, therefore, to Professor Asif's question, tomorrow's International Women's Day. He wants to know, how could you go about increasing awareness for a cause like preeclampsia, and also get people of relevance kind of talking about it. And finally, do you think how do we kind of empower women with choices so that they can, if they want, still start a family and pursue their career? Wow, that's like a 3-part question there.
Well, I think science definitely plays a role in that, because now women can have family, in a different way. So they can, some women can get pregnant in their 40s, and which before was maybe much harder. So that definitely, gives us the advantage to still have some time to focus on our career, to find the right partner as well. Because like where I grew up, it's like, oh my God, you are 25 and you are not married yet? Like, what are you doing? You are ruined for the rest of your life. So I think, that kind of pressure is, becoming less and less, because, women were, I think it was expected from us to always first focus on reproduction and taking care and nurturing our partner's goals and what it is that they wanted to achieve, to sort of utilize everything towards that goal. But now things are changing a little bit, and I think that as the new generations come, there will be less pressure, and men are already very different nowadays. They're more relaxed when it comes to that kind of traditional role and upbringing. But I think I brought up, having time to choose the right partner is also very important, because I think a lot of previous generations, our mothers, our grandmothers, didn't really even think that they would have time to, carefully pick out their partner, and that caused many other problems, like maybe domestic violence, because it was shameful to get a divorce, etc. So, and obviously networking online now helps a lot as well, because there are those SOS rescue numbers or emails where you can actually talk to people, or there are communities that can let you know that you're not the only one that has a certain problem, or that is, having thoughts of leaving their spouse because they're unhappy, but they don't feel stuck. So I love that there is that support. That also counts for men too, because of course that happens on the other side as well. Maybe not often, but it does. And I think even if it happens to men, they feel more ashamed because they're supposed to present this like strength and, the head of the family, and maybe they're not. So yeah, maybe did I go off the topic?
No. It makes sense, and I agree. I think one of the issues there that you described is choices, and something Professor Asif was getting to. How do we make sure that there are choices that allow you to decide how you want to balance your family life as well as pursue your careers in whatever your interests are? And I agree, the previous generation didn't have those choices, and of course, those led to their own complications. But things are changing. I want to come to a rapid fire round after this. By the way, I have some very interesting questions for you. But just to kind of re-emphasize that particular point, so preeclampsia affects women who are pregnant and can lead to a number of symptoms, and it's a condition that is still needs a lot more attention. So for conditions like that, how would you recommend someone to really raise awareness on conditions like that so many women do suffer from? How do you utilize the power of media to get those messages across?
For example, I don't know anyone who had it, which is probably not true. Maybe I do. Yeah. I just didn't hear from them, or they didn't share it. So I think that those women need to be aware that people are willing to listen and help, but they can't do that unless you let them know.
Yeah, I agree. So one of the things, I guess, is to kind of start talking about it and start raising the awareness and having those conversations with people so that they really get, and get that message across. And I think you're right. I think narrative building is something that generally people don't get. You yourself, you're surrounded by it. You're always having to think, and you're thinking very quickly. You've got split seconds to grab people's attention, and it's a skill set, and it's something I want to really come upon in terms of communication, and how we utilize the glamour and glitz of the kind of celebrity influencer world to raise topics or get attention out there. But before I come to that, I really want to quickly go into this rapid fire session, because you have interviewed some of the most interesting people around the world. My first question to you is, what is the cheekiest thing you had to do to get that one interview you really, really wanted?
I don't remember. Most of those biggest interviews I've gotten on red carpets in the last minute. So, okay, let's use Robert De Niro as an example, right? Yep. It was actually at an event he wasn't even supposed to be at. It was a magazine launch party, and it was, I think, related. It was years ago, so I'm trying to remember the name of the event, but I think it was something about powerful women, and his wife was the guest of honor. So he wasn't even supposed to be part of the red carpet, or he obviously didn't want to take away any attention from his wife and the other women there. But I did grab a chance. I think I wanted to approach his wife, but then she sort of redirected me to her husband. So I literally turned, and there was Robert De Niro. So wow. I quickly asked him a quick question, and then what we all do is sometimes we stick the mic next to wherever the person is speaking. So all of a sudden everyone just turned, and we only got a couple of sentences out of him, because I think he doesn't really go to red carpets a lot, but he was there to support his wife. So it was interesting. You do have to kind of react quickly and ask whatever there is to ask. My very first celebrity I interviewed was Simon Cowell. And it was
Ooh.
my very favorite International Emmy Awards red carpet. But I had no idea where I was. I didn't know what International Emmy Awards were. I didn't know Simon Cowell will be there. I didn't know if he was receiving an award, if he was presenting an award. I had no clue, because I literally just like asked this person that has an online media that does a lot of like red carpets, etc. That was like, I think I was still at school. So I asked him, oh, can I come to some red carpets with you and like do some interviews, just to like build my reel, build my experience, etc., which I absolutely recommend. Everyone who wants to do this should do it. And so it was someone who wasn't really like trusting me, so he didn't like give me a press release. I didn't even know at the time that there is such thing as a press release before red carpet, where the PR explains to you, these are the people that will attend, this is what their role is in this awards show, or they will be walking the red carpet, and these are, they literally like give you the whole explanation. But I didn't have that. So I was literally like thrown onto this carpet. And so Simon Cowell, who's known not to be super nice.
Yeah. So you met obviously the old Simon Cowell, because now people say, oh, he's really toned down, he's a different Simon Cowell. But I guess you met the Simon Cowell that we used to think, I said, whoa, this guy's.
Well, I just sort of went for it. So I know that my question made no sense, and it was like a ridiculous question. But he was actually kind. I remember, oh yeah, I did ask him like, so what are you doing here? Or something like that. And it's like ridiculous question to ask, because I'm supposed to know what he's doing there. But he was kind. I mean, I could still find that clip somewhere. I think it's somewhere online, and he was kind. I think he knew that I had no clue what his role was there, but he responded. Like, obviously, I didn't get like the best answer, something that's supposed to end up in the headlines or like clip, but he responded, and yeah, so that's what happened. He was nice, but I was nice to him as well. So maybe he, recognized my my red carpet innocence.
Which one would you say was probably your most memorable interview? Obviously, you've talked about De Niro, you've talked about Simon Cowell. What was the one that really impacted you when you spoke to them? You went back and thought, wow, you know what, this is something that really impacts me and makes me think about my life.
Well, I don't, most of the stuff that I cover is entertainment, pop culture. It's just fun. So it's not overly impactful, like when it comes to like, health problems or, a little bit more serious topics. But one of my favorite interviews, it was with Joan Rivers, because Joan Rivers is the red carpet queen, and she's the one that invented "Who Are You Wearing Tonight?" and critiquing celebrities right on the red carpet. I mean, today it might not like go as well, but when she started it, it was fun, it was new, it was interesting, and it was cool to just be straightforward on television. So I managed to interview her at the NBC upfronts, and it was the year she passed away, actually. So I interviewed her in June. I think she passed away in September or something. And I've always been a fan. I went to like her stand-up performance. So I was so happy to see her. And so what I asked her was, I think, what does it take to succeed in this business? And she said, well, if you're not ready to put in work, you might as well just leave now, or something like that. So yeah, I mean, I think what kind of made me realize is like, you know, she is a woman that's been through a lot. She was also a female that, you know, had to fight with like getting an evening show. She had a husband who committed suicide, and then the peak of her career was like in her 70s. So, you know, she never gave up. She never stopped. I mean, she was well established years before, but you know, she just kept going. So I
Wow.
miss National Police show.
That's incredible. You think, in her 70s, she, as you described, the peak of her career, and yet here a lot of us think, oh, it needs to happen now. I'm 36, I'm 35.
I don't know if I missed something, but I do think that, I mean, maybe because I didn't know about her before I came to the US, so I saw it as like peak of her career, but maybe some will disagree. I don't know.
Obviously, you do a lot of philanthropy work as well, and we're coming kind of approaching that last 10, 15 minutes of the segment, and I want to come to that. But obviously, uh, you are a founder of Popstyle TV. Where do you see it going next, in terms of traditional TV? In fact, we were talking about it yesterday. What do young people watch now? Do people even have subscription to normal TV, or is it just literally on their phone? For anybody who's thinking about building a narrative, I personally believe everybody should have their own media company now. And when I say media company, it could just be an Instagram channel or a YouTube channel or a LinkedIn Live channel, whatever it is. But I believe that to get your message across, and whether you're a scientist or you're a journalist or whatever you are, today narratives are important. And if you don't have a narrative will be given to you, as opposed to you having your own voice to get your vision out there. So, what would, for you yourself, the changes that you've seen over this last year? We've looked at Clubhouse. This app came out and completely changed the way we're communicating, right? What's next for you in terms of getting your narrative and getting your voice out there, and when you're building your media presence, what are the things that you've taken from this year that you think will change or you'll explore further going forward, when you're doing Popstyle TV, or just having these discussions?
If I feel that, I think we all have this little like voice telling us, oh, maybe I shouldn't like ask or do something, or what if this person that I asked for an interview says no, or what if I say something that they don't like, and then that's gonna like ruin my reputation, etc. I think I'm just going to go for it from moving forward. So, yeah.
You're just going to ask the questions regardless.
Yeah, I'm going to relieve myself of embarrassment. Let's put it that way. Like I'm just going to, which comes to like sort of working on your confidence as well. So you are who you are, and that's who you've got. So, I will just like keep moving forward. I mean, I've always been sort of assertive, but I did kind of try to maybe adjust my approach, or to like model it based on like what I think the environment wanted me to be or do, and I'm done with that. So. Yeah,
that makes sense. And before we come on to your philanthropy work, fashion, how would you describe it in 4 words?
In 4 words?
Yeah, 4 words.
Individuality, expression, art, mood.
Wow. Individuality, art, expression, and mood.
I'm gonna have to rewind this to see what I said, but these are the things that come to like mind first when it comes to fashion, because someone recently asked me, oh, so why do people say, clothing makes a person, or etc. Isn't that like kind of wrong to say?
Mhm.
And my answer was like, it isn't, because it really shows you who people are. You don't have to judge them by what type of shoes they're wearing, but you can tell how what kind of personality they have. So it is kind of an expression.
Does that go against, like, don't judge a book by its cover? How do you kind of uh, how do you interpret both philosophies? Like, yeah, at one angle, we're saying don't judge a book by its cover, but of course, when the way someone dresses, the way they express themselves, are they two different ways of looking at things, or do you think no, they're both correct?
Well, I think it depends how one kind of explains that. So it doesn't necessarily means that judging someone is like you. I don't judge people badly based on what type of shoes they're wearing. We all know so, look at the Golden Globes. Like, some
Yeah.
people showed up in a hoodie. So it doesn't mean that I'm judging this person that, oh my God, he didn't dress up for Golden Globes. I am judging him that he's this fun, easygoing, flowing person that I can have a barbecue with, in his backyard in Hollywood and LA. So it makes
Right.
him more approachable. It doesn't mean, that I'm going to judge him negatively because he didn't wear a tuxedo. It
Yeah.
makes him a unique individual. It makes him someone that, is either going to pique my interest or not. So I think
You
that's
know,
why it's a form of expression. That's why I think it's art. I think that's why it shows your mood. So that's kind of what I mean by the
No,
words.
I love that, because I was speaking to Esther Wasiki, who she told me a fantastic story about Steve Jobs. Now, Steve Jobs loved that same attire, the black top and the jeans and the trainers. And she
King,
wanted,
King. Everyone loved his style,
and the thing was, and that itself was expression. She goes, when I was speaking to her, she was like, well, he used to, put those on because he didn't want to have to make a choice. He didn't want to have to decide what he's going to wear tomorrow. He just wanted, just clarity that this is what I'm going to wear. This is what I'm going to be comfortable with. And you're right, and that in itself showed a part of what he was thinking and who he was, in that he didn't want to have to make certain types of decisions all the time. Yet he was the guy who made decisions all the time, right? For Apple, for the company, the way the product's designed. But
well,
when it
he
came to person,
bother himself like having to think about what to wear because he had other more important things to think about. He ran a really big company. So I think that's what it comes to. But I also think that this pandemic will change fashion a little bit. And I'm not sure in which direction it will go, because I don't know, I've heard some ladies that they're so happy they no longer have to like wear high heels, that they don't have to like totally dress up for their jobs, etc. But then there are some that are saying, oh my God, we can't wait to get out there and wear all these outfits that we didn't in over a year because there was no occasion to go to. Me personally, um, I am someone, and that's another thing how I got a lot of good red carpet interviews, is because I showed up dressed up and like ready for the part. So I think a lot of people liked that, and I felt more confident. I felt better. I felt like good on camera. I felt like someone, worthy of an exclusive, like little few words exchange. So I do miss dressing up, but I think that I will, moving forward, feel okay not being dressed up too, which I would not feel that great before. So I think that occasionally I would now be okay, going in my sneakers or like a little more casual to an event, which I would not really allow myself to do before.
I love that. You feel fashion is going to change, and you yourself are feeling that, hey, you know what, I can put my hair down and just go enjoy myself and take it easy. Um, and with that, I'd love to come with and talk about your work that you're doing with Her Royal Highness Crown Princess Katherine of Serbia, so who is a patron of Lifeline New York. Uh, Now that's a non-profit. I'd love to know the work you're doing and what you're doing with Lifeline New York, because I know you're really helping humanitarian aid with children's hospitals and orphanages in Serbia. I'd love to know how you got involved and what the mission is and what's next for this wonderful organization.
So I learned so much from Princess Catherine.
Yeah.
She is so good with creating a connection with people, with individuals that need help, that are from all sorts of different backgrounds. She's very personable. She's very approachable. She is someone who always responds to emails, to calls. Now I always, when I don't hear back from someone, or when I don't, someone tells me they're awfully busy and they can't get back to me, I always think of Princess Catherine, because I'm like, she is, I'm sure, so much more busier than you are. Yet again, she always makes time to hear everybody's story, to respond to phone calls, to respond to text messages. It's all about making that effort. And I think that really translated in her magnificent work that she's been doing for Serbia for years now. Even when, so for those that are in London, there is Lifeline that's based office in London, and they have events, obviously not in past year, but if anyone wants to get involved and is in London, we have an office in London, in New York, you would reach out to me. In Canada, obviously the biggest office is in Belgrade, so they kind of handle majority of things, but then we sort of help as much as we can. And what is great is that she was able to really bring attention, not within Serbian diaspora, but within people that have never been in Serbia or that aren't that familiar. So one of the most amazing moments that I've experienced with Lifeline New York, it was actually in my hometown, Sombor, because we had an event, and then we're kind of thinking, where are we going to send medical equipment, which hospitals, because hospitals in Serbia really need help. There is everything is kind of run down, and even starting from electric beds, like there are hospitals that don't have any, or have like 2 or 3 electric beds. So the nurses really struggle, like moving patients, etc. So I remember she was asking me to like send a list like of the hospitals that need help, and I kind of like put a hospital in Sombor, the one that I was born in, that my mom was born in, that all of my friends were born in, and so I didn't want to ask directly, but I just put in an email like, well, how about, by the way, hospital in Sombor too? So it happened. We actually delivered beds and medical equipment. We had this amazing event. My mom was there, some of the members of the media that I'm familiar with, that I even worked with. So that was like the highlight of my time on earth almost, because I didn't even think I could like kind of contribute to something like that. And the fact that she was there and in my hometown, Princess Catherine, that's amazing. So, if you asked me a few years ago, I would never think something like that can happen. And also, when I started working with Lifeline New York, I had no idea what philanthropy really was until she taught me, until I was able to watch what miracles she does daily. So yeah, there are a lot of examples of what she's achieved in the decades of her work, and yeah, I just learned a lot. I also learned a lot when it comes to communication from her as well. So she really tries to focus, and even if you mention a hospital that needs something today and you kind of forget about it, she'll come to you 6 months later and be like, oh, remember you told me that this hospital needs help? Well, now I have something for you. Like, it's really impressive how she handles things.
Tijana, we've been speaking now, we're approaching the hour mark, and in all this conversation, there's been so many great things that I've taken out of this discussion with you. But this last 3 to 4 minutes, I've seen this girl like come out in you. So like, wow, and it's apparent how passionate you are about this. And this is, people say you need great coaches and mentors in your life. And as you said, there's this princess who's come into your life and she's really taught you about what philanthropy really is, right? Do you think that kind of impact on you now has given you direction that, hey, later on when you really want to give back to society, you're already doing that now with your work with Lifeline New York? But do you think having a great mentor like her gives you so much more perspective on how, as humans, we're not just about making as much money as possible, having the best cars, but there's so much more to do out there, living that legacy for other people? Do you think,
so I learned that doing for others will make you feel so much better than doing anything, in comparison to for yourself. So it's just a different feeling. It's totally different feeling. I didn't know this before. I didn't have an opportunity to experience it until I did. And I think that, people come to a certain age and they're successful, and I think not everyone, but those that evolve to a stage where they no longer care about their needs, but just want to make the world a better place for others. I think that's where you really evolve as a human being.
Wow. I just want to thank Nick, Jordan, Professor Asif, Hala, and some of the other people who got involved and asked some amazing questions. To tie this up, Tijana, it's International Women's Day tomorrow. What message would you give out to all the women out there who, I believe, this is their decade, right? This is their time to shine. And with all the work you've done, this girl who's left Serbia and jumped to America, and I do think journalism is one of the toughest industries to be in, right? But you have to face so many difficulties, tribulations, and all the rest of that. But you've gone and you've shone, and today you're working with Her Royal Highness Princess Katherine. What message would you give for them? And we'll end it at that. For all those women out there who are going to be celebrating with this week, what would you say to them?
Oh my goodness, putting me in the spot. But I just would think that think about where you want to see yourself, who you are, what you want to be, and go for it, and don't let anybody stop you. I mean, I think we all live in this always worried about our peers and surroundings, but and I think we should not regret in 10 years that we didn't do something. So I think, the first step is still a step, and you need to make that first step in order to make it to where you want to be. Something like that. I don't know if
Yeah,
I.
no. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna take a lot of these quotes, and I'll have to credit you for them. Tiana, thank you so much for joining and having this discussion. I think it's just been fantastic to getting to know you even better. I know we've had some fantastic conversations, and there's going to be some great stuff you're going to be doing over the next few weeks and months with Pop Style TV. So, for all of you who would love to know how to connect with Tiana, well, she's on LinkedIn, so you can reach out to her. And she's just so approachable. She's absolutely lovely. She's out there. She's willing to talk. And it's very hard. Sometimes people think, how do I connect with someone? And what advice I'll give you is reach out. It's just like Tiana said, with Her Royal Highness Princess Katherine, she'll respond. And don't assume someone won't get back to you and have a pre-assumption before you even tried. With that being said, Tiana, it was so lovely to have you. Thank you so much for joining me. I know we're looking to do a room later on discussing the kind of after effects of the interview with Oprah and Meghan and Harry. So for those of you who'd like to join, we'll be posting out a link. It'll be available. We'll be doing it on Clubhouse. So join us if you can. And we'd love to get your thoughts. But with that, Tiana, I'd love to thank you so much for joining this interview. I just think that everything you've said, your journey, your story has just been incredible. And the things that you've really put across today for me were that, hey, there's never too late. Never give up. More importantly, recognize the power you have with your voice, right? Recognize that there's so much you can achieve by just getting out there and not stopping. And most importantly, give back to the world, because ultimately that is the higher purpose. Because without that, we're just shallow shells of ourselves. And with that being said, I'd love to thank all the audience. Thank you so much for joining. It's a Sunday evening, at least here in the UK, and you could be anywhere in the world spending time with your families, but you chose to spend your time with us. With that being said, Tiana, thank you. Audience, thank you. Have a good night, and we look forward to speaking to you all again. Good night.
Thank you so much, Wasim, and the audience.
Thank you.